to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer. Thanks for listening. You know, my wife Vicki and I have owned and operated our photography studio, V Gallery, for 20 years now. White House has been our lab for the last 16 of those years, and we could not be happier. White House is a family-run business, just like ours. If you haven't already, check them out at WHCC.com. And if you want to drop me a line, feel free to email me at jed@WHCC.com. The older I get, the more I realize that experience is one of the greatest teachers. And it doesn't need to be our own experience. There's so much we can learn from others and the experiences they've endured. Rachel Martin was kind enough to sit with me and share some of her experiences, and not surprisingly, it was wonderful. She's written a book that aims to help people sell their work and make their lives better. It's called Tell Me What to Say, and it's available now for free at salesobjectionsecrets.com. Listen and learn, my friends. Then grab the book, put it into practice, and experience a better life.
Okay, I just need you to know I really prayed about this because I feel such a calling to, I have more years behind me than I have in front of me. And I have just really felt a calling to help people. And so and I'm like, okay, Lord, what is this about? Because this whole thing, I was so unexpected of this, and Rudi said, oh, Mom, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I just want to be really real. Mm-hmm. And I will be really real. In fact, I need to tell you that my dad has been dead for a number of years, and his dying words were, be real.
Well, are you serious?
Those were his last words to me, was be real. And you know what, Jed, I don't think I understood that until the last number of years. You go through a transition of, okay, now what? Okay, we've built this business, we've got this amazing thing going on, and now what? And that I've got more years behind me than ahead of me, and so what am I going to do? And Tony Robbins talks about, the different human needs, and the very last one is legacy. And that everybody wants to leave something, and it's taken God a while to convince me of this, but I'm like, okay, all right, because I feel really passionate about it. So I'll try really hard not to cry, but this is a really emotional thing for me.
Don't try too hard. I don't want you to focus on that. I want you to focus on. Don't you just focus on you. Just what you have to say. I think I can see it. I wish this was a video podcast right now because people could see it in your eyes and your face. So I have these questions here, and I'm going to use them as a guide. Okay. But we might trail off here and there.
Okay.
Start out, why don't you, by telling me who you are and where you're at.
You know who I am.
Well, but not everybody that's listening does.
Okay. I'm Rachel Marten, and I live in Montana. We've had a studio for, 35 years.
You and your husband, Clark, and now Rudi.
Yep. Started back, obviously, in film and, worked through the beginning years of digital. Rah, rah, rah. Mm-hmm. That was not easy. And, and then Rudi swore he would leave and never come back.
Right. And
when he was... just a few months before graduation, I said, it is so time for you to go find that tree that money grows on. I just know the good Lord creates that time where you're just like, it's time for you to go. Because I love you, but I'm having a hard time liking you. And just you wait, Jed, you will find this out. And I really think that's the Lord's way of saying it's time.
It's time.
You need to let go of them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we as parents, you just want to keep your children forever.
Right.
Because you want to protect them.
Right. But they don't stay children forever.
No. Right. So Rudi left, and he was a jerk. He really was. But you know what? And I share this with a lot of clients in my showroom is I would tell them, I said, Rudi came back, and not all kids do come back and tell you. He said, I am so sorry. I was such a jerk to you. Oh. He said, but I was so afraid. He said, I knew that I was going to have to live without you. And so I pushed you away because I was trying to learn how to live without you for these last number of months.
Right.
It totally makes sense.
Wow.
And so, I share that with people in my showroom. But anyway, then as time went on, the whole social media thing, and of course, that was kind of over our heads. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, please, Rudi, just come back and help us. Just help us for a little bit. And he was like, no. I mean, to him, that was like a step back in life.
Right. To him, that was digressing.
Oh, very much so.
Okay.
So, and he had a newsletter business that he did, through the internet and stuff like that. So he could go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So he finally did say, okay, I'll come home. And he lived in the basement in his room. And he said, do not get attached to me. I am not staying. Mm-hmm. By Christmas, I'll be gone. Mm-hmm. And then it was, by summer, I'll be gone.
Right.
And he said, I'm not going to be 30 years old living in my parents' basement.
Okay.
Pretty soon he was 30 years old and living in his parents' basement. But one day he said, you know what? I am not feeling called to go anywhere else.
Right.
I'm becoming quite passionate about what we're doing. And so I will stay.
He was vested.
He was. And he really saw, as we started marketing differently and, my sales were better and all of that kind of thing, that he was like, I can see where not only can we make money,
right? Because
of course, we grew up with no money. We had no money.
Right.
Not only could we make money, but, he could see how it was changing people's lives.
Right. He saw that piece.
Yeah. And so it's the three of us. And now really it's, we just kind of work for Rudi. He's the youth. He's the passion. He has the vision. Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful. It really is.
But you and Clark set up this foundation, essentially. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Well, yeah. We started it from nothing.
You built a brand.
Yeah.
Right? And because your town's not very big.
2,000 people. Yeah.
And yet you might have one of the top, from an aesthetic standpoint, from a size standpoint, just as far as overall beauty is concerned, you might legitimately have one of the top 5 studios in the United States of America.
Oh, I thank you, Jed.
I mean, that's legit. If anybody knows, people should check it out. Just go to your website and look and see what this place is like.
And, we started out in our home. We worked in the basement. Mm-hmm. And then, and I had gone off and got another job because, it just wasn't enough. We're farmers.
Yeah.
Which has its advantages and disadvantages.
Right.
And so I had another job, and then I finally realized that I could quit that job, and if I just really helped Clark, we could make more money than I was getting paid. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did. But we built the studio onto the back of the house strictly because we had 4 children. And when Rudi was 20 months, Jake and Abby were born, and when Jake and Abby were 20 months, Molly was born. Mm-hmm. So 4 kids, really fast, really close together. Yeah. And so I didn't, I wanted to be home when they came home from school.
Right.
And so we're like, okay, we'll build on the back of the house. Not really realizing the business state, that was not probably a good idea. Mm. But I think we were blessed because we had put God first and our family. And we were blessed by that, and people drove out. But when Rudi came on, he said, I will stay and I will take over Clark Marten Photography, but I want to move it to Billings. Uh-huh. And Billings is an hour away from us about.
Is it that far? Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, no, we're the studio in the country. And he said, I don't want to live in Columbus.
Right.
I want to live in a bigger city. Billings, most people would roll their eyes.
How big is Billings?
100,000.
Okay.
But so he said, I think we could be very happy living in the city. Mm. And I'm like, okay.
He didn't have to twist your arm too much.
No, because I saw that was his vision, and you have to have a vision.
Yeah.
Otherwise you just ramble.
Right.
And so that was his vision. And Clark and I really came on board, and no kidding, Jed, we bought the building, and, like within a year we were already there. Mm-hmm. And bought the building, and 6 months later moved in. We were not ready to move in, but we had to, and it was just chaos, and we had to pull the paper off the floor, and it was crazy. But we've done a lot of work to the building. It was a 100-year-old building. We, redid the whole thing and really honored the building.
Okay.
So we honored the building by, we didn't want, when you build something, the contractor's always like, oh, here's something we didn't see. And I'm like, well, how much is that going to be? Well, that'll be $2,000 or $20,000. And I'm like, do you guys know any other number than $20,000?
Right. 20,000 is like the baseline.
Yeah. But it was like, we can put a Band-Aid on it or we can fix it right.
Yes.
And Rudy's not going to have to deal with something down the road. So,
I've heard of that. I've heard that used many times from contractors. And most of the time it's legit. Like they're right.
Yeah.
Using that analogy.
Yeah. And but it is. We feel very blessed. Very blessed.
You have a tight family.
We are freakishly close. Is how people have described us. Yes.
And so it's striking me. I mean, I know that about you guys, and I've known that for a long time, but it's striking me the different ways that manifests when you were telling the story of Rudi and how he came to you. And it seems to me was very vulnerable with you when he said, I'm sorry, I was pushing you away. That's extraordinary. And I hope you have a sense of that. I think you do. But hearing it, from my perspective, the enormity of how really unique and amazing that is hits home. What do you attribute that to in your family? Well, how is it like that with you guys?
And I would say number one thing is our spirituality. Mm-hmm. We're very strong Christians. But, and from that comes, I didn't plan on having children.
What?
No, I'm the youngest of all girls. And, I didn't like babysitting. I didn't like doing any of those kind of things. I was never one who just had to hold somebody's baby. No, that was never me. But it just seemed, and this seems crazy, Jed, because people make these decisions now. And I don't know that I made this decision, but then it was like, okay, I guess we're going to have kids. Yeah, how silly is this? I'm saying this out loud. And so Rudi came along, and then boom, Jake and Abby came along, and then I grew up in a family of 3, and it was odd man out. Uh-huh. And I was odd man. Oh. And so I was like, I don't want that. Yeah. I want to have one more. And of course, people are like, what? Right. And because usually when people have twins, they never have another child.
That's it, right.
But so then Molly was born. But I took being a parent very seriously.
You do. You still do.
Yeah. And it was like, I can raise these children so they will be an asset to society, or they will be a pain in the asset of society. And so I took that job very seriously. And a lot of even who I am now, I was then, but it just, my kids are the ones that saw it. Like I had this desire and this understanding, and I had tough love. And even my mom was like, gosh, you disciplined so much stronger than I ever did. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Molly would come and I'd say, did you brush your teeth? And she'd go, yeah, I did. And I'm like, let me see your teeth.
Yeah.
And she's like,
one of those moms.
Well, yeah, because I had done that to my mother, and my mother just let it go. And I'm like, okay. Oh, you idiot. You are so not on to me yet. Right. And so I was on to my kids. Right. And even because they were close and we lived out in the country, they were each other's playmates. And so, and I would say, you know what? Friends will come and go, but siblings are forever. Right. And you know what? Your sibling will be what you tell them they are. Mm-hmm. So if you tell them they're stupid and ugly, they will think they're stupid and ugly. Right. And being odd man out, I felt that. Yeah. And so I was like, no, you can disagree. You can discuss it. You can agree to disagree. But you cannot treat them unfairly, or you cannot be mean.
So you've gotten to the point now, and you've said this, you said it earlier, but you said you have less time in front of you than you have behind you. So you have this sense of mortality
urgency.
Is that fair to say? You have
Yeah.
a sense of urgency because of that.
Yeah.
And are you inspired by that, or is you say God is like speaking to you or using you? Like how? Because you wrote a book, which I didn't see coming, but I saw that it was here. You know, I saw like a couple months ago that, oh, Rachel's writing a book, and you've done that, and it's finished, and it's on sales. Mm-hmm. Tell me
Well, we're giving it away, really.
Tell me what. Right, it's a free book on sales.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's called "Tell Me What to Say." Right?
Yeah, because years ago, backing up a little bit, you all know I have 4 kids, and they're all really close together. So, like, Rudy's a junior, Jake and Abby are sophomores, Molly's a freshman, and Rudy's starting to look at colleges. He's looking at Pepperdine, things like that. Anyone who knows Rudi knows he has a very fine taste. He only likes very nice things. and he really doesn't waste money on cheap stuff. Right. And so, of course, schooling was not going to be any differently. And I remember sitting, doing the books and thinking, we don't have any money. We are just paying bills and sometimes not even doing that. And we have 4 kids coming up, and we'd always encourage them to dream big, that God had big plans for them, and that they could do anything that they felt gifted to do, and to really follow that desire. And then I realized we don't have any money to help them through college. Now, why was I 2 years out and just now realizing this? I have no idea. But, and I became angry that we had wasted all this time in an industry that produces people who live in mediocrity and poverty. And I remember holding up that 8x10 to Clark and saying, we need to start making money in this business, or we need to do something else. Because my kids not fulfilling their dreams was just something I wasn't ready to cave to.
That was like your wake-up call.
It really was. And I was always, anyone who knew me before that time knows that I was very shy and quiet. And the youngest of all girls, everybody just called me silly little Rachel, and I thought, yep, that's who I am. And I just kind of played that part. And even my mother today reminds me of how silly and how little I was. Why do mothers do that? Yes. Okay. But when that happened, I realized that I had, I'd kind of just floated, just doing enough and staying out of that, when you push yourself to do something, that anxiousness, that fear that comes up inside of you. Yeah. And so, I'd always avoided that. And I'd always been allowed to kind of avoid that.
But you flipped a switch.
No, it flipped. Yes, it did. And it was totally, Jed, because of the love for my kids. And we all figure out a why. Why, they say when the why is strong enough, the how becomes easier. And I never really understood that. Until I look back on what happened to me, because it was like, my why was my 4 kids in college. And everybody's why is going to be different. Right. And it can even be something like, I want to travel, or I want to, go here, I want to buy this, or, I need retirement. Those kind of things. Everybody has a why. It can even be to prove that you are more. There's a why there. And when that why becomes strong enough, now I can't say the how is easy. Right. But all of a sudden you're doing it because the why is so strong. Right. And for me, my fears were fine, but I realized my kids were going to pay the price for my fears. Okay. And I was not okay with that. And maybe it's because we are such a close family. I think it's any parent wants, would lay their life down for their child.
You want the best for your kids.
Yes, you do.
And you realized at some point, pretty far in to the game, that you weren't going to be able to provide what you wanted to, or what you would consider the best for your kids. And that was a wake-up call for you.
Yes. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Nothing changes until I change.
Right.
You know, and you pray and pray that you, God, please, you know, make this different, please. And really the Lord's saying, I'm waiting for you to change.
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
That's right. And so then I, you know, and through that spirituality, I'm like, okay, all right, here we go, Lord. You know, speak to me. And so I started, you know, reaching out to figure out how to do sales, because that was and I was an order taker. That meaning you know, people, and Clark's a good photographer and always has been a really good photographer.
Yes.
And the experience that people get when they sit with him is, you know, is spectacular. They just feel so good about themselves and about their families and all that. So, you know, moving them into the sale was always, you know, they were on a high, but I was an order taker just because I was so shy and quiet. I did not want face-to-face. I did not want confrontation. You know, I had fear and anxiety, and then I found a photographer who was $1 million photographer, and so out of Portland, and so I went to him, and it was kind of through another God thing that I ran into him at a convention, and he's like, okay, this is what you have to do, and I basically said, tell me what to do, and I will do it. Tell me what to say, and I will say it, because I was too afraid to know what to do or say. So I was just like, you just tell me what to do. And as much as I don't want to do it, I will do it. In fact, I do remember him saying, okay, you need to do projection sales. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. And he said, well, I guess, you know, Rudi could maybe, you know, get a job or go to community college. Okay, I will. Oh yeah, he knew my weak point.
He knew the buttons.
Yep, he knew the button.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, okay, just tell me how to do it. But and I learned so much from him and in other places. In fact, you know, Jed, I even took phrases and stuff off of commercials. When you start looking for, you know, ways to increase your sales, you start watching everything. The
way that other people do it.
Oh yeah, you
right.
go to a store and you watch how the guy sells shoes, and you know, in fact, I just bought a pair of shoes, and the guy was like, and I said, sell it to me. Tell me why I need it. You know, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to learn here. Because they have, so many of them, they
Right.
go to schools where all they
Right.
do are
Right.
taught sales.
They learn.
Yes.
Right.
And so I watch that kind of stuff, and I've really gotten interested in human behavior and why we do what we do, and even, you know, the human needs of certainty and uncertainty and significance and things like that. And, you know, and even the power of a family portrait and how it makes a family, you know, feel, and how those kids look at it and they, you know, they feel worthy.
Yes.
In this world where I tell my clients where there's just a lot of kids out there who don't feel worthy.
Right.
They don't feel important. They don't
Right.
feel like they matter.
Right.
And so I just found all of that, you know, really interesting. But as I learned it from Bill, he just talked really fast and nothing was written down. And so I would do something and then I'm like, oh my gosh, that didn't work. And so, you know, and I'm afraid at the same time. And, you know, and there's times I would just come out of my showroom and the client would leave and I would just cry.
Yeah.
And I even tell the story of where we're in our home, you know, because we built on the back of the house, and I would go down to the washroom, I would sit on a 5-gallon bucket,
Yeah.
and I would just cry because I just didn't know how to do it. I just didn't know what to say, and I felt stupid, and I was just like, I can't do this. And then I'm, you know, my kids are all heading into college, and I'm like, I've got to do this. And so that's when I started really, you know, in fact, I would call Bill and I'd say, okay, I said this, and then they said that, and then what should I have said? And he said, well, you just say this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I would write these little things down. But the hardest thing for me was those objections.
Right.
You know, what if they say this? What if they say that?
Right.
Or I hate it when they come and then they don't bring their husband, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I so wish that John was here.
Right.
I'm like, well, why in the hell isn't John here? You know? Oh, that was my worst one.
That's a big one.
Oh, yeah. And then, you know, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys are so expensive. And,
Yeah.
you know, and just all of those. And then I'm thinking, you know what? They're all about the same.
Yeah.
There's only about 5, 6, 7 objections.
Right.
They're said a little bit differently,
Right.
but they're all about the same.
Yes.
And so then I'm like, okay, I just need to figure out what to say if they say this. And so I just started writing down, all of those things and then how I would answer it. And so that, and then I, kind of tweaked that, and then I would have somebody in the showroom and afterwards I always critique every sale. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? This was a great sale. Why was it a great sale? Or this was a sucky sale. Why was it that? Okay, this part went really well, but then it just, got kicked in the butt in the end. And so, I tried to, when do I talk and when do I not talk?
Very important, right?
Oh my gosh, and we women are the worst at that because when we get nervous, we just chatter, and pretty soon I'm giving everything away, and because I'm nervous.
Yes.
In fact, I listened to a lot of things tonight about sales and marketing stuff, and this guy said he had gone to a house party where they're selling essential oils or something like that. And he said, you could tell the woman was just really into it. She loved what she did. But when it came down to selling, he said, she just, and then if you're interested, you can just, ask me the questions later, but you don't really have to.
Right.
Because we get really nervous when it comes to selling.
Yes. When the rubber meets the road.
Yeah. There's that fear. And I was so tired of that fear. And it's a daily thing. When you're doing sales every day and you're afraid of it, you dread it.
Well, you're in a position where you're facing it every day.
Every day.
Right. And it's essential to your success.
Yeah. You know what? And it's the only thing that's essential to the success, in the sense that there's a lot of excellent photographers out there who their sales suck. And their businesses are struggling. And then there's a lot of, mediocre photographers who have figured out sales and are doing really well. But I always figure, okay, if I'm not doing well in the showroom, we don't go to the bank.
Right.
That's the only thing that puts money in our bank.
It's key.
Is me in that showroom.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I have got to get the best that I can at this. So by writing out those things and figuring that out, and the book has all those answers. It's, what do you say if they say this? What do you say if they said this? How do you build that value? How do you, answer that question? And I've come to believe, the difference between, what I feel I do is, I've always said life is simple, we complicate it. And so, you know what? Let's simplify sales. And when people come in and they, have objections, I'm like, these aren't objections. These are just questions they have. And I think of it as, if my mom, who's 87 years old, if she were to be in someone's showroom, she's going to have questions. She's going to say, well, honey, where am I going to put this? I don't have very much wall space. Or, I do like that size, but I don't know. I've never had a picture that big before.
Yep.
She's going to have questions. They're not objections. They're questions.
So just framing them that way kind of changes your mindset a little bit. Like you can feel it in your brain when you change that from an objection to a question, because to me, it seems like just answering a question as opposed to confronting an objection.
Overcoming.
Two very different things, and yet you're talking about something that's it is that. That's what it is. It's a question. It's not an objection. But all of a sudden, I'm approaching it completely different. From my standpoint, like, I feel a lot better thinking of it as a question than an objection.
I think, though, Judd, that in our industry, you have to believe in what you're doing. I believe with all my heart the power of a family portrait. I know from personal experience that people leave this life, and when they're gone, the only thing you have are those portraits. And Clark and Rudi always say, they said, this will be the lost generation.
Yeah.
Because everything's on their phone.
Right.
And phones, are lost.
Right.
Or broken.
Data's lost.
Yes.
Easily.
Yes.
Right.
And so the only way, and I tell people, the only way a family is together forever is on your wall.
Yeah, you got to have that printed and put up there.
And you have to believe that, though, to now be able to, help my client understand the significance and the importance of what they're doing and the power of that family portrait. And that people who love their family, this is important to them. And people who love their family want other people, when they walk into their home, to see they love their family. And they want their family to know that. That they can say, you know what, this family portrait, this has the most important people in my life in it. It is more important than anything in our home. And it's more important than anything outside of our home. And maybe that's because I feel that way about my family.
This is your legacy, isn't it? This is it.
But even more, Jed, I want other photographers, I want other salespeople who struggle with sales to have something that they can look at. Because I would teach, and as I would, spout off these answers, of this is what you say if they see this, and this is what you say if they say that. And people say, slow down, say that again. Right. I'm trying to write this down.
Right.
And we're just like, Mom, let's just make a book. Right. So that people have kind of okay, let me look at this. Let me underline this. Oh, this is a good one. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to put it right here inside my drawer where I can see it.
Yeah.
And so that they can, I want people to be able to get over the fear of sales so that they can go in and they can see their sales increase. And because when you increase your sales, it goes right to your bottom line. You didn't have to pay anything more for marketing. You didn't have to pay anything more to get those people in. This all goes, if you have a sale and instead of $1,000 sale is a $4,000 sale, that $3,000 goes right to profit.
Yeah.
And so that makes a difference in people's lives.
Big difference.
That puts kids through college. That pays to finally be able to take your family, to Disney. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. We didn't go on vacation. We didn't have anything nice. I mean, our kids never wanted to be in photography because they were like, it's no fun. We never had any money.
Right.
And I'm just like, how long did I have to go until I found somebody? And I'm seeing other people who are $1 million studios. Somebody's doing it. Mm-hmm. Why not me?
Right.
But it comes to that point where you're like, when are you going to finally, draw that circle of intent and step into it and say, you know what? Next year at this time, it's going to be different. I'm not going to be the same year as it was last year and the same year as it was last year. And I hope next year's better. This isn't hope. This is, what? Things are going to change. Am I willing to do the work? That's what I had to ask myself.
The book is free. You pay shipping.
Correct.
How do you get it?
Go to salesobjectionsecrets.com.
And just order it there.
Yep. You can just order it right there.
And then there's an audio version, is that?
There is an audio version.
Yeah.
Yes, which is me.
Right. You're
doing the audio.
You're reading the book.
And yes, I am. And, and I have to admit, Jed, this is kind of funny because, here I am. I'm the one who said all these words. But when it came, it was really exciting. And it came, and then Rudy's like, okay, read through it. This is the... we need to see if there's any, errors, that kind of thing. And I read through it and I came out and I cried and I was just like, Rudi, this is what I would have given.
Yeah. To have this.
In fact, I remember when I met Bill and I was like, I need to have a seminar with you. How much do I have to pay to come and see you? I will pay $10,000. I mean, because it was like either I start making money in this or my kids don't go to college and we got to figure out something else.
Right.
And so I'm like, you know what? One sale, give me just help me.
Right.
And so, I didn't pay $10,000. In fact, really what he said was find 10 studios and come out and each of you pay $1,000, which we're talking back in Rudy graduated in 99. So it was probably 97.
Yeah.
And so $1,000 was, I did that. I got everybody all together and went out there and oh my gosh,
it was worth $10,000 a piece, wasn't it?
Over and over. And it not only changed my life, but it changed our kids' life. And it will change generations in our family.
Why free? You're giving this away for free.
Because it's that important that people have it. And it's that important. There's a lot of people out there struggling that if they just had this, they just had an opportunity to, they're searching, and there's so much mediocrity. And I get frustrated when I see even people in our industry teaching mediocrity. Being happy with $1,000 sale. And I remember my first $1,000 sale, I was happy.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be that.
Right.
I want people to be able to be paid what they're worth.
Yes.
And not live in mediocrity. We were not created to live in mediocrity. We have seeds of greatness in us. We can go out and make a difference in the world, but you can't make a difference in the world when you're struggling and when you have lost your confidence. And we allow fear to do that. And I heard Joyce Meyer is a gal that I listened to, and I loved it because she wrote a little book kind of like this one. It has a little picture of a mouse on the front, and it says, "Fear will never leave. Do it afraid."
Do it afraid.
Do it afraid. And I love that because I was like, that's exactly right.
Do it afraid.
Because fear will never go away. And if you're waiting for fear to go away, you're sunk.
Yeah.
So step up.
Because it won't.
It won't go It won't go away.
Right.
So just step up and do it afraid. Because when you start doing that, you know what? Then fear just goes, well, she's not intimidated by me anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else. And it fades away because you realize that, you know what? I can go through this.
Thank you for doing this with me. It's rare that I get to see somebody holding their legacy in their hand and being so, like, to sit here and you've had tears in your eyes and even coming out of your eyes almost the whole time. And your passion and your excitement for what you're doing and it's inspirational. I'm blessed by it, and I really appreciate what you have done and what you're doing.
Thank you. I want to empower.
Yeah.
I just, believe me, I stand in the mirror and to tell myself, don't tell me you can't give me more than what I've been seeing. I just encourage people to not to settle.
Don't settle. Do it afraid and don't settle. I like both of those.
Yeah.
Say the website one more time.
SalesObjectionsSecrets.com.
Okay.
And the answers are in here.
Tell Me What to Say by Rachel Martin. It's a legacy. Check it out.
And I don't think this is my last book. There's other things that people have said, oh, okay, this is great, but now I need to know this, and I need to know this.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, once you do this once, you're like, okay.
Once you climb that first mountain, the second one doesn't seem so bad.
And I really have to give shouts out to Rudi because he's just been my wingman, and he's my encourager, and he's like, Mom, you got stuff you need to share. There's people who need to hear that, so...
We'll keep going. Let me know when the next one's out, and we'll do this again.
Oh, thanks, Jed.
Thanks for your time.
You're most welcome. My pleasure.